Hey, what's up, guys, and welcome back to Anime King 2, and I'm back with the final episode of What If Naruto was Mahoraga Reincarnation, guys. I just want to thank each and every one of you for sticking through to the end. Thanks for all the support that was given, guys. And also, with this coming to an end, go ahead and comment your ideas down below for them to be done by me. So I just want to thank you all once again. And as you already know, new what ifs coming up very soon for you guys to enjoy. And don't forget to go ahead and check out the other channels if you're new. Yes, I indeed have 3 more channels which I post what if on every single day for you guys to enjoy. All the links will be down in the description, so go ahead and check out the other channels and enjoy. So without further ado or wasting any more time, how about we jump right into this final episode. Let us begin now, guys. So, to do a recap for the last part that we left off, things kicked off with a massive battle as Naruto was in the process of going after the Akatsuki members that took Gaara out. However, Deidara decided to go against his leader wishes as he took Gaara's corpse, as he made Naruto follow behind him. Lady Chiyo and Sakura remained behind though, as they fended off against Sasuke as an epic battle kicked off there. As for Naruto, he hunt Deidara down. Deidara tried his best to escape. Unfortunately though, Naruto was much too fast. And the more Deidara flee, the more Naruto adapt to his explosives. After fully adapting to them, Naruto split them in half like they were nothing, diffusing them with electricity with each of his swipes. He was able to knock Deidara off his bird, and with that, they start to engage one another within the forest. An epic battle was able to proceed between the two, Deidara giving it all that he had, despite missing an arm. He was still a S-rank ninja, but Naruto was simply too powerful. He was a walking tank, an indestructible force, and even when you were able to rip him to sunders, he simply regenerated. He started to rip Deidara apart. He tried to fool Naruto on many occasions, but Naruto had long since adapted to anything that he had to throw at him. As the battle proceeded to increase between the two, Kakashi arriving on the scene. However, that is when Deidara was on the wrong side of Naruto, as Naruto produced another technique that he was able to gather over the past couple of years, which rearranged the land and wiped Deidara off the face of the earth, completely incinerating him. Sasuke was also taken out by Chiyo and Sakura as well. As the group returned, Gaara body in safe condition courtesy of Kakashi. After seeing that they actually were concerned and cared, Chiyo decided to make a sacrifice as she brought Gaara back to the land of the living. Naruto and Gaara did end up having the battle that they wanted. As with that, the groups returned back to Konoha. After discussing what they needed to do, Tsunade had to speak to Naruto alone, as she received word from the Raikage. Yugito was rather surprised as well, but the Raikage took a vested interest in what she had to say, and not only that, he agreed. And he sent something to Konoha. Surprisingly, it was a marriage contract. Naruto was taken aback, never expecting that. Tsunade being someone that he could sit down and talk to, as she was able to understand just how exactly he felt about this girl. as she would like to meet her before anything else, believing that she was a part of Naruto life enough to judge who he was going to end up with. So yes, that is what happened. While that was going on, Sasuke Uchiha was finally making his move, having enough of Orochimaru, as he was ready to take him down. So with that, the battle started up. Back at the village though, as things were going more than well, there was a meeting that would be taking place between the Raikage and Tsunade to speak about the potential ally between the two villages. Unfortunately though, Yugito was being watched by none other than Zetsu. She was found, and she was attacked by Hidan and Kakazu. Giving her immense new power, she was able to slaughter them a couple of times. But each time she took them down, they kept on coming back up. However, Kakazu was alarmed that she was able to push him this far. This girl was able to push him to limits and destroy more than one of his hearts, something that hasn't happened in a long time. However, they utilized Hidan technique and they were able to subdue her. In the final moments though, she pulled out a sealing tag, as it was then shown that Naruto was the one that gave it to her when he had visited the village, as he just wanted to be there just in case, and she needed it now. So she pulled it out as a toad summoned Naruto, informing him of what was happening. Naruto arrived on the scene. Like a monster if there ever was one, he went 100%. As Naruto demolished the two. Naruto even adapted to Hidan immortality, able to corrode his body pieces, burn away the aspect of his entire existence. As he made his way over toward the two, in the end, Naruto was able to send off so much power that it burst through Earth's atmosphere. However, that might be rather problematic for the future. So with that said and done, Naruto made his way over towards his soon-to-be bride. So yeah guys, basically let's pull it off you guys again. Switch across the playcheck of yourself, and yeah, let's jump into this final episode. Let's begin. Now guys, she was regaining consciousness, her last memory being releasing the tag in her hand, pulsing her chakra to it to summon the toad. She feared the worst, that he did not get it in time, that she failed. However, as she stirred and her eyes slowly opened up, the first thing she was greeted by was his eyes. The moment she saw them, she felt this warmth run through her, this happiness. "I'm glad you're here," she said. Naruto looked down towards her. "I told you that. I wouldn't allow anything to happen to you." That made her smile as she felt that she was on something rather comfy, soft, not rough like the ground. She turned her gaze to see a blonde woman with a diamond in her forehead looking down towards her. "Where am I?" she said. Time skip. The Raikage feared the worst after a scouting team had arrived, and the torn fabric of Yugito clothing was found on the area. The man was furious, greatly so, believing that she was taken by the Akatsuki. He blamed himself immediately for not taking better precautions. However, her missions were supposed to be a secret, information known only to a few. How did they get such sensitive information? It wasn't like the Land of Lightning was in a plain location where someone can easily be spotted. The mere fact that they were able to get so far. Granted, they weren't exactly within the village parameters, but they were close enough. And now she was gone. Not only was one of his main deterrent taken away, but this also cancelled anything that would have bridged the betterment of the future of Kumo, with them linking with Konoha. Because now, the only thing that he would receive was the anger from the Namikaze boy when he found out about Yugito's demise. The Raikage was furious that all of his plans, everything were simply thrown through the window. It angered him greatly. However, his anger did not last for too long, as he received word from Konoha by a messenger bird. When he read the letter that came to him, he was rather shocked, now understanding why there was so much destruction within the area. Granted, he thought that it was Yugito at first, but some of the things were not adding up. It turns out that the Namikaze boy was able to be there. How? He had absolutely no idea, and he saved her. And now Yugito was safely at Konoha for the next couple of days. As the Raikage ventured towards the Hidden Leaf village, Yugito had been there recovering. After the first day though, as Tsunade stepped out of the room, and Naruto proceeded to enter. "She doesn't like me, huh?" Yugito said. "It's not that," said Naruto. "She's simply judging your character, to know if you're good for me, I suppose." "Really? What exactly is she to you? I know that she's your leader and all, but we have a close bond," said Naruto. "However, don't let her serious face fool you. She seemed to have found a great interest in you. After all, who wouldn't? You're an amazing person." She smiled here and that, as Naruto made his way and sat down beside her. She got out of bed, flexing herself and checking herself. She was 100% fine. She knew the courtesy was because the Hokage wished to, talk to her and know what kind of person that she was. When the Raikage got there, a long meeting took place, as they spoke about the union, and both sides if they agree on said union. The benefits that would befall Konoha if they were able to unite with Kumo, given some of the larger trade routes that were shut off due to, village fighting in the past. This would benefit them greatly. A meeting was kept between the clan heads. Tsunade was there. The Fire Daimyo was even brought into this. This was the first time that Konoha was even thinking about creating a union with Kumo of all villages. So yes, this was a big deal. As we find Naruto seated on the Hokage's mountain, Yugito had her head rested on his shoulder, as they were simply up there, enjoying the sight in front of them, relaxing. Everything seemed to be going rather well. Majority of the internal politics things did not really concern either of them, not one bit. However, she soon received news that the Raikage was giving her the option of returning right away or remaining here for the next couple of weeks as a trial basis between them being united as a village. She would be the first one to be basically a liaison between the villages. However, this was a big move on his part. Perhaps it was due to Naruto rescuing her, saving her life, and not ruining all of his plans. It might seem like he was simply out for himself. This would benefit his village, but the Raikage respected Naruto. He respected powerful people, people that did not back down no matter what, and Naruto was a literal definition of that. So yes, he was making a big move here, showing that him and his people could be trusted. She did not hesitate to agree, wanting to spend more time here. Granted, she still had a lot of people back at her home, friends, people that were extremely close to her like family. However, she wanted to see how things would be actually living with Naruto, to find out everything, not just spending a small amount of time, to truly see how it would feel. Granted, the both of them were crazy about each other, but they needed to see that part. Yes, they do. A week passed by, As things were going rather smooth, the both of them got along rather great. And in the bedroom department, given their both, well, insane stamina, that was a intensive ride. However, word soon reached a Hidden Leaf village about a particular shinobi. Naruto was in the office. So was Sakura as well. Kakashi was seated nearby on the windowsill as they were having a conversation about none other than Sasuke Uchiha. Yes, word recently sprung that he killed Orochimaru. So now he was out there. Naruto remained quiet, remembering the conversation that both him and Sasuke had. He remembered quite well. A lot of things happened leading up to that battle. For one, Jiraiya got information on both things. Whereabouts of Itachi Uchiha. And they knew that Sasuke would be going after Itachi, so Tsunade sent out a team to find and bring the Uchiha back once and for all. And this time, Naruto knew that Sasuke will make his final decision. After all, he warned him about that all those years ago. At the same time, Jiraiya believed that he had an idea on the leader of the Akatsuki. Him being the man that he was, the best spy master decided to go in on his own. Tsunade was worried, but he told her to have faith in him as he left. As for Naruto, placing a kiss on Yugito's lips as he left the village, along with the tracking team to hunt Sasuke down. Sakura was ready. They all were. They ventured far away from Konoha, making their way towards a rather unpopular village, where the team split up, using all members that were able to fully adapt to their surroundings, like Kiba and his dog, Hinata and her eyes, Naruto and his powerful sensory ability. Kakashi decided to summon some of his own in order to help those that needed it. So with that, they proceeded onwards. Sakura came across a woman in the village. She didn't know why, but she had this strange feeling as they passed by one another. Said woman seemed to feel something as well, possessing right here. Meanwhile, that was going on, Sasuke Uchiha found himself venturing through the forest. It was finally time. A lot has happened since he killed Orochimaru. He gathered a team, Team Taka, which consists of a boy known as Zetsu, a very wily one, who aimed to gather all the 7 ninja swordsman blade, possessing one already, the discarded broken blade of Zabuza. However, the blade was able to regenerate itself from blood. Yes, it was. Courtesy of that, he had it under his possession right now. The other member was a monster. Given his transformed state, his name was Jugo. And the last one was that same redhead Sakura bumped into. Her name was Karen. Itachi knew that this was going to happen. His partner knew as well. Perhaps it was the respect for working together for so long, as he allowed Itachi to do what he had to do. One of them was going to win the match. Given how powerful Itachi was, well, he would concede to be the one to win said match. Unfortunately though, Team Taka had to stay behind. Well, not Sasuke, as Itachi already gave Sasuke the location on where they needed to meet. As they venture within the forest, they came across someone though. Team 7 came to a stop along with the other teams. Both Hinata and Neji snapped their gaze up as they found someone. The team was large and powerful. Hinata was there, Neji was there, Kiba was there, Shino. Tenten wasn't there though. Lee was there as well though. As Kakashi was on the scene, along with Naruto and Sakura. So they were here to bring Sasuke back. They possess all the elements to track and take him down. Unfortunately though, they were stopped by a man wearing an orange mask. He waved down towards them. He looked rather happy. "Hi there," he said. "I'm here to be a distraction." Oops, I shouldn't have said that. He said nervously to himself. "Man, I'm gonna be in some real big trouble now," he said. However, as he was talking, there was an explosion in the far distance. As Naruto had felt it, the tremors that went through the earth. The next moment, the ground erupted, forcing the Konoha ninjas to cover their face as Naruto ripped through the tree and tore through said man. However, he was standing on another tree fine. "Yikes, you're really scary," he said. Naruto stood where he was, looking at his hand. He could have sworn that he passed through him. He tried to grip his throat, but he was unable to. His blade extended from his wrist. Naruto descended on the man and started to slash. He dodged, but the ones that he could not dodge were going through him. The more they fought, the more the pinwheel in Naruto's eyes observed, and they started to turn. The other members started to engage. "Fang over fang," said Kiba, ripping the tree apart as the man went through, flipping off the branch as Naruto landed. Despite the destructive power, Naruto was passing through the man. However, he was adapting to this weird ability until Kakashi intervened. "You sensed something earlier, right?" "There's a fight going on in the far distance," Naruto said. Kakashi assessed the situation. "Go. We'll handle this one. Bring Sasuke home," he said. Naruto nodded to the man before he bent his knees and took to the heavens. Said masked man tried to reach Naruto, but Naruto kicked off the ear with so much force, using wind manipulation towards his feet. The whole forest received a violent gust. Masked man was unable to keep up with him as Naruto shot off in the distance. He was about to go after him though. Unfortunately though, the other members started to attack. Meanwhile, the remaining members of Taka was going up against Kisame, well, mostly Suigetsu, wanting to test himself against another swordsman. Not to mention he craved for Samehata. Kisame was simply buying time though, as the battle behind him was coming to an end. That is when something blew past them at such speed, it was truly frightening. Even Kisame was caught off guard. "What the hell was that?" he said, feeling the sheer power radiating off what that was. However, he had to block another sword swipe as he was truly getting annoyed. The heavens croak as lightning flash, thunder boom. Rain started to pour down. As Naruto landed, he saw black flames all over the place. Bypassing those, Naruto made his way, moving through the broken down facility that was once a Uchiha broken facility. He arrived to see Sasuke on the ground. Beside him was his brother. Stepping closer, Naruto could hear Sasuke's heartbeat. That is when the same masked man materialized. Yes, he appeared out of nowhere. "You're faster than I thought, Jinchuriki," he said. His voice was much deeper. "I knew your act was a facade. You played it too well," said Naruto. "Huh. Perhaps you're smarter than I thought. However, this is a perfect opportunity to catch you. You've already wiped out a good portion of the organization, and I'm afraid that I won't allow you to end anymore. You'll be coming with me now." Naruto chuckled in the man's face. "If you think those stupid petty tricks that you were doing back there is enough to restrain me, Do your worst. He vanished. Oh, there's a lot more that I can do. He said, appearing behind Naruto as Naruto split him in half. But he went through him. However, as Naruto vigorously attacked, the man was smiling. Can't you see, he said, your attacks are meaningless. You can't touch me. That was until Naruto wheeled, made a full turn and fully adapted. The next moment as Naruto came in, perhaps it was years of understanding his own body and feeling the air, feeling a different sensation that he moved. The masked man was stunned to see his arms severed as Naruto split through the space between them. The masked man technique was truly magnificent. He sent his body to a different dimension, but Naruto adapted to it. And he was able to split through this dimension and split into his, ripping his form. He stepped back as Naruto crushed his mask with a punch. A brutal kick that slammed him right into a boulder. He immediately rolled away as Naruto's fists obliterated the ground, ripping it to sunders. Getting to his feet, something was wrong. Naruto's first attack had destabilized his technique, destabilized his entire dimension, as he was collapsing space between them, and that was truly problematic. He tried to focus back his chakra to send himself away, but not before Naruto hit him so hard all the air left his lungs. He was thrown like a bullet, tearing through so much broken and discarded boulder. He crashed into the black flames, courtesy of Itachi Uchiha. He started to howl out in pain as the flames ripped across his form. Immediately getting back to his feet, he started to blink in and out of this reality. However, in truth, he was simply slipping back in front between the two dimensions, as Naruto's attack was really messing with him. Naruto dashed towards him only for a blade to crush where Naruto stood as he pulled back, courtesy of none other than Kisame, having been brought here by none other than Zetsu, who was observing everything. Kisame saw Toby on the ground. Toby, he said, take him down. Restrain the nine tails. His tone deep. With pleasure, Kisame said, not caring about anything except for the battle, as both him and Naruto go at it. The team from Taka remaining members arrive a few minutes after to see the onslaught that was taking place. What the hell is going on? Sasuke, Karen said, running over towards him, as she immediately tried to make Sasuke bite her. Jugo coming over as well, the special property that his body possessed, as he was trying to use it to heal Sasuke. As for Naruto though, he was taking on both Kisame and the masked man. As Team Taka turned their gaze when they felt it, the monstrous power surge. Naruto was not holding back, wanting to annihilate every single aspect of the Akatsuki. They tried to take Yugito away from him. He wouldn't allow that to stand, not one bit. Naruto went berserk. Both him and Kisame clashed, ripping the area apart. The masked man tried to sneak up on Naruto, but once again, Naruto split literal dimensions. This time, his real arm was ripped to sunders. When Naruto stepped into his guard, Naruto hit him with such a brutal force that the remainder of the mask that was still hanging off fell off, allowing his face to be fully viewed to the world. The earlier blow had cracked it and a lot of pieces has fell down, but now his face was out. He released a fireball to try to stop Naruto, but Naruto braked straight through it. The man's eyes widened, unable to use his Kamui unable to slip into his dimension because Naruto was causing instability between two dimensions linking together. "Your mind," said Naruto. He sunk his hand into his guts, and the energy formed. Immediately the man started to breathe cold air. It was followed by a supernova explosion that ripped the heavens themselves. Kisame, watching as Toby was hit with such force that annihilated everything within the vicinity, realized the true magnitude of the Nine Tails' power. As for the masked man, as the ability was carrying him away, he couldn't believe it. All of this planning, all of this work, to be taken out like this, as he was ripped to sunders. Zetsu, who was watching on the sideline, Black Zetsu showed emotion of rage. "No!" he roared. He was so pissed to see Obito Uchiha annihilated like that. Kisame summoned his most deadliest technique, trapping Naruto in a gigantic water spear. It was a good thing that the battle had progressed a distance away, otherwise Team Taka would have been caught up. "What the hell is that?" Sakura said in the far distance as they raced towards the scene. The teams came to a stop as they gazed upwards, as they could see the massive bubble from where they were. Inside, Kisame fused with Samehata. As the entire thing was draining Naruto, Kisame attacked Naruto, but Naruto looked at him with a smirk. Before he spread his arms, a raw, intense amount of power exploded out of him, freezing the entire thing. The next moment, the massive spear dropped to the ground. It was frozen solid, as a violent shout could be heard from the inside. Another explosion of raw, condensed power on Naruto's part. The explosion blew everything apart. The Taka members had to duck for cover, so they weren't hit by the shrapnels, as Kisame crashed down. Naruto dropped as well, but he came down on Kisame with such force. He tore the land apart, rearranging everything. Trees in the far distance even collapsed. Black Zetsu was bloody furious as he watched his plan going down the drain. Anger, rage, seeping through him like never before. His rage was so much. He was pissed, greatly so. He watched the destruction of the Akatsuki right in front of his goddamn... What was that? Naruto burst out of the ground and gripped both Zetsus and tore them apart. Black Zetsu was alarmed as he was greeted by Naruto's half and half, the pinwheel on his head. Zetsu tried to flee by turning himself into a liquid to slip away, but Naruto froze him. "No!" said Zetsu in rage. "This is not how it ends. I have to free Mother," he said, trying to stretch himself away, but Naruto intensified and froze Zetsu from the inside out, completely solidifying the beast once and for all, the monster within the shadows. With that, Zetsu was no more. He was gone. As he clattered to the ground and broke into pieces, Team Taka was terrified. Jugo got up as Naruto's gaze was focused on Sasuke. "He's mine," he said. Jugo stepped forward though, despite feeling uneasy that he hasn't felt, because he was usually the psychotic one, but this was different. Much different. Suigetsu turned his gaze towards Karen, and something was wrong with her. She was muttering the words, "Don't, don't." She seemed afraid. However, Jugo lost control. With Sasuke being unconscious and the amount of bloodlust in the air, he transformed. He went straight in. He started to laugh psychotically. The next thing, he dashed towards Naruto. However, the moment he reached Naruto, Naruto gripped him by grabbing his hand and grabbing his face, lifting him off his feet and crushing him into the earth. As Jugo struggled under Naruto's hand, his body turned into all cannons. The next moment he released a powerful blast that released a terrible explosion as Naruto was hit point blank. When the smoke and dust cleared, Naruto's misshapen body because of him being ripped apart, immediately started to regenerate like it was nothing. He picked Jugo up and plunged his hand through his chest, breaking through all the tough exterior like it was absolutely nothing. Jugo's eyes went wide as Naruto gripped the other part and proceeded to rip Jugo in half. Suigetsu, getting to his feet, was shocked by the display. Perhaps it was a profound loyalty that he's gained for Sasuke since joining Team Taka, or perhaps it was his own urge to fight, knowing that he was going to die either way, which made him leap forward with the blade. However, Naruto gripped said blade as Suigetsu was shocked. Naruto punched a hole in him, only for Suigetsu to smirk. Yeah, that's not gonna work. That was until Naruto created one of the many black balls right in Suigetsu's stomach. He pulled his hand out as he proceeded to destabilize. Suigetsu's eyes went wide as Naruto stepped past him. Boom! He exploded from the inside out. Still surging with such power, Karin looked up. Her being a censor, Karin was literally terrified, unable to move where she stood. The amount of power that Naruto was surging with as he looked at them, as the Akatsuki as well. He reached down to end their life. However, Naruto was stopped by another hand. It was Sasuke. Having woken up, despite being dead tired. "Don't touch her," Sasuke said, as he fell backwards, collapsing out cold. Perhaps a moment of intervention, a moment that saved her life, as Naruto started to calm down. Karin was still utterly terrified after witnessing her two teammates, brief but still, ripped apart in front of her eyes. It was in that moment that the remaining members finally arrived upon the scene to witness the anarchy, the destruction, the one-sided slaughter of all who stood within the way of Naruto Uzumaki. As Naruto looked down towards the ground at the unconscious Uchiha. Time skip. Sasuke was bandaged and he was okay. However, he was restrained as he was locked in a padded room, unable to go anywhere, unable to move much. As he was bound, he was fed, but other than that, he hadn't had any visitors. From his understanding, it's been around 2, perhaps 3 days since he arrived. He was certain that he was back within Konoha. Karin was still alive. As for the other two, he did not know. He had no information, but he's been busy. For the past days or so, he's been thinking about everything. Thinking about what he did. Thinking about the clan. Thinking about the future going on. He's been thinking a lot. Yes, he has been. And here he lie. His mind has been preoccupied. His thoughts were cut though as the door opened up. As someone ventured inside, the person walked over. Sasuke could not see. His eyes were bandaged, suppressed to the very limit. Yes. The person sat down. Despite not seeing, he could tell who it was. So where's your head at now? Naruto said. Well, if I do anything regarding the leaf, I suppose you'll have to kill me, huh? Sasuke said, his lewd attempt of making a joke about the situation. Perhaps, for the first time in a long while, he truly understood what it meant to truly achieve what he desired. As Naruto sat and talked with him, as much as they fought. Since that day when Naruto gave him an out to do as he pleased, a mutual respect had been forged between them that surpassed their friendship from Team 7. So as Sasuke sat there and Naruto speak, even spoking about his brother, Sasuke started to bleed under the bandages, causing Naruto to rip them off, wonder what was going on. For the past couple of days, Sasuke has been thinking solely about his step forward, but for the first time in a long while, he thought, what really happened? He went back to that day, that horrendous day when he lost everything. And the pain, the emotional baggage finally broke. Sasuke cried, but it was tears of blood. After everything that he's been through, all the sacrifices, everything, he's finally done it. He has succeeded. Perhaps the emotion, the strain, the path that he had to take, those that he come to see as friends and comrades and he betrayed them, all that he's done, it awakened something special within him. As his friend, Naruto sat and spoke to him. As the next couple of days went by, Sakura paid Sasuke a lot of visits. As for Karen, she was questioned. She gave up all information regarding what they did and what resulted in Naruto seeing them there, what resulted in that battle. Everything. Unfortunately though, news hit Konoha like a bullet. It affected many. What did you say? Naruto said, gazing towards Pa and Ma. They brought sad news, terrible news. Jiraiya was a very stubborn person. Yes, perhaps it was due to his own affliction. Jiraiya had steered away from Konoha path in the past and chose to raise 3 orphan kids, teaching them. As the news came back, Naruto had no idea about this though. Jiraiya wanted to do it on his own. He wanted to go there. He needed to do this. And when he found out what was going on, Naruto was going to go to the land of rain himself and burn it to the goddamn ground until there was nothing left. His rage was felt over the entire village. Even Sasuke, confined, locked away, felt it. His power surged to unbelievable heights. His rage seemed to bring out more inside of him. However, as Yugito wrapped her arms around him, she was able to soothe his anger. The closest to a father that he had was taken away. As much as he ignored the Sani, the man has truly made up for the past that he hasn't been there. He was his godfather after all. The relationship, their bond, was strong. Naruto wanted to head there right away to kill the leader of the organization, to end it once and for all. They tried to take her away and they took Jiraiya away. However, Naruto understand the suffering that Tsunade also faced. He did not blame her. And after finding out about these orphans, he understood what Jiraiya would do. After Ma had said a name, after Paul had repeated the final words of Jiraiya and showed what was on his back, Naruto was the one that was able to decipher the code. The real one wasn't amongst them. However, Tsunade was there. She knew that Jiraiya had made his way off. But it seems like his absence was much greater than they thought. He had spoken in front of both toads. He knew. Naruto understood why he did what he did for his own sake. But he was still angry that the man did not wait on him. If the both of them had went there, things would have been a whole lot different, and that angered Naruto greatly. As the following days passed by, Sakura, who was there by Sasuke's side, told him about everything. Despite what has already taken place, Sakura was able to have decent conversations with the new Sasuke. Something was different with Sasuke. His personality, his ideals, his goals seemed so different. Very, very different. Unfortunately though, things had only just begun. As the Akatsuki was still in circulation, and they were making their big stand. It was a random day to many, until poof. After bypassing the security outposts, one summoned many, and they spread out. Calamities and destruction started to rain all over the goddamn village. Sasuke Uchiha confined to that room. However, he was no longer restrained like he once was. Tsunade was making sure that he cool off where he was. Yes, she was making sure of that. For him to know the actions that he took will have consequences. So despite what Sakura had to say, she had not released him. However, when Sasuke saw the ninjas running down the hall, confused and worried, as he wondered what the hell was going on, it was on that moment that Sakura was actually coming to pay him a visit. As one of the others ran back and told him that the village was under attack, Sakura, he shouted at her, "You have to free me." Sakura was hesitant on doing so, not wanting to defy the orders that was given to her. She did not. But Sasuke wanted to use this to prove to himself there was nowhere else for him. He's got his revenge. It was time that he started to actually move forward. The talk with Naruto had changed Sasuke's ideals and views on everything, even more than ever before. His outlook, his understanding was something gravely different now. So Sakura freed him. She trusted him so much. He didn't try to run away. He indeed wanted to help. As chaos reigned through the Hidden Leaf village, courtesy of the 6 paths of pain, a lot has gone into this. First, finding no response from either of the members. Finding out that all of the rings were destroyed, even Zetsu's, made him realize that the Akatsuki had been wiped out. As shocking as that was, when Jiraiya came to his village, he put an end to the man, deciding that he had enough, as he was going to take matters into his own hand. He started to plot his attack on the Hidden Leaf village, to gain the insight that he needed to make sure that his attack went off flawlessly. The last information that he got from Zetsu was that the two-tailed Jinchuriki was brought to Konoha by the Nine Tails. If that was still the same case, he would be getting 2 birds with 1 stone. So that is what he desired at the moment, as he attacked the village, causing unrest and a lot of destruction. To draw them both out, to take them both. Unfortunately though, he made the grand mistake of believing that he was dealing with your average shinobi. He was a god after all, and a god did not fear a common man. However, as Naruto and Yugito stepped out, the first thought that graced his mind was, who would dare, in their right mind, who would have the sense to attack his home? Naruto immediately made his way off, the both of them, trying to find out who was behind this. The first sign of the enemy was a summoner. Yes, a girl, summoning animals. When Naruto saw the robes, when he saw the eyes, remembering what he was told by the toad, Naruto lost it. The only thing on his mind right now was the slaughter. They saw him through their connected vision. Immediately, a massive centipede was summoned as Naruto ran. The thing tried to take Naruto off his feet, but he broke it with his hand by gripping into it as he lifted off the ground. Naruto spun and threw the thing out of Konoha. The next moment he was attacked by massive feral dogs. However, Yugito came down on it, her body coated with the first stage of the transformation of the Jinchuriki. Go, she said. Immediately the path was taken off the ground by a bird, but Naruto ripped through said bird and gripped the hero of said path and pull it down. They both start to plummet as she tried to engage him hand to hand. Naruto blade carved through both of her hands before caving in her chest. He then brought his hand up and clapped her head in the center, before he brought his fist down and crushed it. The body hit the ground with a loud boom. Naruto ripped it apart. Feeling the loss of connection, every other path started to descend upon this area. However, one of the paths were stopped by a wall of black flames. It was a human path, as Sasuke Uchiha stood there. Sakura was standing by as well. As the attack started to be diverted towards a less popularized area, they were coming for him, Naruto and Yugito. Sasuke engaged with the human path, as he realized that he was trying to grab him, to touch his head, but Sasuke avoided that by all costs. His eyes now showing the Mangekyou. He surrounded the both of them in a ring of fire and then started to evade even more, drawing the path right towards him. Together they were godlike, but apart they were weakened. Sasuke got it where he wanted as he summoned his Susanoo, the path fist, crashing against it, only for a hand to grip it. It tried to escape, but it lacked the necessary power like the others to do so. Sasuke crushed it. Another one down like that. Meanwhile, Yugito and Naruto were making their way. As Naruto could sense them, they were coming for him. He started to give himself away, but to spare the people from the chaos that would follow, Naruto went outside of the village, making his way. Meanwhile, within the forest, in the trees, what is it? Konan said. She saw that Nagato was furious. He was not expecting this. The Uchiha, and with those eyes. However, he wanted to make this quick so that he could focus his full efforts on taking down the leaf. It was his desire to gain revenge for what happened to his parents. As much as he claimed to be a god, there were certain aspects of him that never truly decrease. As the village started to pull itself back together, Tsunade giving out orders, moves were being made. She was surprised. "You," she said, seeing Sasuke. However, she didn't have time for that. "Where did they go?" she asked. Kakashi landed there as well. "Naruto has brought them out of the village," he said, "and he doesn't want us to intervene." "He told you this," Tsunade said. "No, it was Yugito," he said. Naruto was angry. Very, very so. He wanted to exact his revenge. To get his revenge for what they did to Jiraiya. Yugito could respect those wishes. She understood that his rage would not be quelled so easily, and he needed to do this on his own. She, more than most people, knew the depths of his power, so she would not believe that he would fail. She had full faith in him. As Naruto started to shatter limits that he had originally set on himself, as he seemed to be able to go even beyond 100%, his power skyrocketing to unbelievable heights, gaining power to levels that were truly, truly immaculate. As his power surged beyond unbelievable heights, every single tree in the vicinity was ripped apart. The land was being torn as Naruto's destructive capability was causing mayhem. Naruto's power was so great that it did not matter their shared length. Naruto punched his fist into the ground and created an entire valley of ice. He spewed flames out of his mouth, but after another look, it was not flames. It was the raw energy of his tail beast ability. When they finally hit, as Naruto fired his blades into the sky, hundreds of them, Naruto blanketed the era with so much that it started to affect not just here but everything else. Yugito had to hunker down. She had to go as far as to channel her tail beast's power to remain where she was. As Naruto started to rearrange the entire land, the land of fire was quaking. It felt like a natural disaster, like the earth was going to be ripped apart. They tried to restrain him, they tried to subdue him. They hit him with missiles, they hit him with bombs. His body was ripped and blown. Realizing that they need to contain this power, Tendo started to let loose as him and Naruto engage. The other paths had been crushed under Naruto's might, but now all power was going to Tendo. He hit Naruto with an almighty push that hit Naruto for so much miles. His body created a new trench in the entire landscape. Tendo appeared and released the almighty push down on Naruto, trying to crush every single bone in his body. However, he did it so much that Naruto adapted and slashed right through it, tearing a hole from his shoulder coming down to his chest. Shocked, wounded as he jumped away, but this body was just an extension of the original. In that moment, Naruto felt it, the connection between them. Yes, he did. Tendo went further than normally he would. "Wait, you're doing that? Now?" Konan said, worried, as Nagato was bleeding from the nose and mouth. He was being greatly drained by this battle. Naruto was simply sheerly too powerful. He had no other choice. Yugito saw the place being torn apart as everything was going to the sky. "What the hell is that?" said Tsunade. The others watching in sheer shock. This wasn't Naruto. As Naruto was jumping down, resisting the pull, Tendo stopped himself for a moment and released another almighty push with so much power that Nagato almost blacked out. However, he pushed through it as Naruto slammed into the boulder. Yugito shouted his name to the heavens. Tendo did not stop until it was massive. He collapsed downwards, exhausted. Given that Nagato was exhausted, that is when he felt another power as he turned his gaze to see in the far distance the Two Tails holder. Yugito call reached Naruto. As we find Naruto within his mindscape, laughter could be heard behind the bars. Is that it? Are you going to give up? The Nine Tails said, would you like me to lend you some power? No. Kurama actually smiled when he heard that. Naruto has never borrowed his power, never tried to take his power, and he respected that more than anything else. He was the first wielder of him that did not seem as a curse or a burden, just someone that he had to face, and that goes a rather long way. I won't. Forgive him for what he did. He will die, said Naruto. The next moment Tendo paused, so did Yugito as she looked up. When the entire spear froze, the moon froze. That's impossible, Tendo said, as it then split in half. The next moment something came rocketing down, raising his hand. Almighty push! He tried to stop Naruto as the force was, pushing Naruto back, but Naruto literally clawed himself through the ear and gutted him. He tear him apart with his bare hands, his blade reaching so deep. He ripped him apart. The both of them then collapsed down to the ground because of Naruto being pushed back, and all that force was now gone, but Naruto got up and took off immediately as he dashed through the forest. Meanwhile, within the trees, deep within the forest, he's coming. Nagato said. Here, Konan said, as Nagato gaze focused towards the head of the tree. It did not take too long for hands to rip it open. Immediately, as his gaze fell upon the both of them. You killed him, said Naruto. He was your sensei too. Nagato looked at Naruto. My ideals are something that you cannot hope to understand. The best thing for you to do is to surrender yourself in order to make a better world. So that's it. Just another madman with another philosophy that I can't understand. Well, it doesn't really matter now, does it? Said Naruto. You're about to die. Racing through the forest, as she heard another explosion, followed by several. Immediately, increasing her speed, she ventured as quickly as she could. Arriving, she found herself looking towards the discord land. As Naruto was simply seated there, it took her 5 minutes, 4.5 really, to arrive. However, it was done. Konan was a threat, yes. However, Naruto adapted so much that she wasn't a threat to him. Naruto had bypassed her speed rather easily. Nagato was confined to that walker. Naruto crushed his head, destroying the Rinnegan. But he did not care about that. Finally getting revenge. Yet, Naruto wasn't someone that deliberately showed weakness. However, Yugito saw it and she was also surprised as well, because Naruto didn't cry. She thought it was rather concerning, and she wasn't the only one when he heard about Jiraiya passing, but now, getting his revenge, the tears came. Despite all that just took place, she simply walked over and wrapped her arms around him, holding on to him. Time skip. Naruto gazed down towards the Nine Tails, the beast looking rather weaker than before. Much weaker, having sapped a lot of its energy during the battle, as Naruto had finally freed the seal. That promise that he made the Nine Tails so long ago. However, during that time Naruto also met his parents, something he never thought he would have the opportunity to do. And he was able to tell them what he's been up to. He was surprised when his father told him about the masked man, as he told him that he eliminated him and the others. His father was so proud of him. He knew there was a reason why he sealed the Nine Tails within his son, because he believed that out of everyone else, his son would be able to overcome the power in making it his own. However, he was shocked when Naruto said that he never used the Nine Tails power. His father was more proud to hear that. His mother was so sweet, nice. However, she also had a fiery side, as Naruto realized that Yugito and his mother were similar in their ways, as he told her about his soon-to-be wife, a wonderful woman that he loved. They were so proud of him, so happy for him. But as Naruto stood there, triumphing over the Nine Tails, the beast accepted his loss with grace. However, Naruto did not lock him away. As much as I claim in the past, I'm unable to free you without repercussions on my life. However, the following words shocked Naruto more than most. The Nine Tails didn't want to be free, knowing that it would probably kill Naruto, but that wasn't it. It would like to see how much farther he would go without access to his power. It was the first time since Naruto was able to gain a glimpse of what he now possessed, and he was shocked. But it was a power that he did not need, as he had his own. Time skip. Sasuke Uchiha, finally dressed in a black suit. He was not the only one. Kakashi was there as well, and many others. It's been 6 months since the attack. A lot of structures weren't that badly damaged, so they were able to fix many back together. Sasuke's sentence was cut short, mostly due to Naruto and Sakura. After all, no one suffered during the escape attempt. No life was lost on Konoha part. There were injuries, but that was good for him. Not to mention Sasuke had fought to protect the village, defeating one of the paths. Therefore, he was given release a couple months back on a trial basis to be watched. However, he was showing that he was an upstanding person more than ever. He was still restricted from going on any missions. However, one person was happy about that: Sakura, having spent the better part of her life in love with him. And for the first time since, he was actually showing some sign of returning some affection. Despite being more open, he was still a bit closed off in certain social cues. However, today was a big day, being the first of their group to be wed. Well, Tamaru was here with Shikamaru, so maybe. as a lot of people were here to attend this wedding. Because this was no normal wedding, while it was there for their people, the Raikage was also here, along with several of his ninjas as well, and several important factions. Even the Land of Fire Daimyo and the Land of Lightning Daimyo was here as well, as their union would signify a peace and a bond that had never been there even at the start of the Elemental Nations. The couple was well dressed, of course. Yugito was stunning, was not the word to describe it. Immaculate. There was no words to describe her beauty in Naruto's eyes. And to everyone else, she was simply breathtaking. Naruto gazed upwards as she was standing alongside him. They were about to get married. The ceremony was different. Yes, they were standing together, as the others were waiting outside. Naruto would have liked to see Jiraiya here to witness this. As he gazed up in the heavens though, he could see the Sannin smiling at him. However, as she turned towards him, she also felt it as she paused. A sensation that caused everyone to go on alert. Gaara and his siblings stood there and gazed upwards to see two people. One of them was a rather large-built man, with a smaller man on his shoulder. Yugito's eyes started to twitch. Today was supposed to be our special day. Who had the nerve to interrupt it, she said. She was pissed. Venturing outside, the man gazed down towards Naruto. Hello there, Fox. You're coming with us. And who the hell are you, said Naruto. Watch your tone when you speak. You're addressing Lord Momoshiki. Momoshiki? And who are you? Said Naruto. I'm Kinshiki. Good. I like to know the name of the people that I'm about to rip apart. Maybe a sign for you to know not to interrupt my goddamn wedding. Naruto blinked, and the next thing he knew, the smaller man kicked him so hard, Naruto was sent sailing away. Everyone was shocked. Yugito blinked. She was backhanded through the building. Kinshiki descended upon them with a red axe as he hit the ground, blowing everyone away. As for Momoshiki, he made his way through the rubble, making his way to where Naruto lay. As he came to a stop, Naruto attacked the man. However, he weaved under Naruto's blow. Too slow. He hit Naruto several times with his palm open like a Hyuga, knocking Naruto away. As he stepped further, he was confused. As he looked towards his shoulder that was bleeding. When did you? The next moment he jumped back, as his veil was ripped off. Oh, I'm just getting started, said Naruto, furiously attacking the man once again. But despite his looks, he was no pushover. However, Momoshiki realized the fox was much stronger than he originally thought. He started to show his power though, flexing his eyes. His power surged as he knocked Naruto away. Naruto skidded back. Amusing. At least you're not bad. For a pathetic urchin, I can think of no other that relinquished that power into the atmosphere. What the hell are you talking about? Ah, you're not aware. But you were the one that led us here. We sensed your power. Naruto remembered his fight with Hidan, remembering what had followed. When he sent that powerful wave into the heavens. That was the first thing that came to his mind. He saw it, broke through the clouds, and went beyond. immediately regretting his actions. Just what in the world are you people, said Naruto. We're the Otsukis. You're better in every single way. Naruto clenched his fist in anger. If you think you can come to my home, attack my people, and get away with it, you will suffer the same fate that everyone else has. As Momoshiki started to laugh. Well, Ninetales, let's see how much you can back those words up. Your petty form of training is nothing to us. As he pulled something out, a couple of them, and swallowed them, he started to laugh. Kinshiki, he said. Kinshiki flew to his side, having been fighting the others. Surprisingly, none of them died because Kinshiki was not really taking them seriously. The only one to put up a true matchup against him was Sasuke. Sasuke had not had the operations done that would have given him the eternal Mangito Sharingan, another punishment on, well, his sentence. As Tsunade was the one that would have been able to do it perfectly, but it wasn't something that she had done. However, Kinshiki was immensely powerful. He was an Akatsuki, a being that they weren't ready for. Momoshiki proceeded to summon a ball of death. As Naruto knew that he couldn't stop that. He could, but if he tried to, everyone would die. Looking over towards Yugito and the others in her wedding dress, as Naruto mouthed the words to her, I love you. She tried to run towards him, but Kurama, said Naruto, a name that he's learned in the past 6 months. I need your help. For the first time, Naruto had reached out to ask for help from the fox. It was the only way to contain that blast. The power surged as Kurama was right on it. Naruto needed a strong enough shield for the people. The next moment, as Kinshiki launched a technique, Kurama Essence was able to overcome it. Naruto infused it with his own Tail Beast chakra. As Kurama Essence was large enough, Naruto then proceeded to freeze every ounce of himself. Contained in the blast, Sasuke grabbed Yugito and jumped away as a sizable explosion ripped through the place. But because of Naruto, it was contained. The problem was, Naruto was on the inside of it. Yes, he was inside. As the smoke and dust started to clear away, everyone was looking around, trying to locate the enemies. Yugito knocked Sasuke off of her, running towards the epicenter of it. Looking around, trying to find a semblance of Naruto, but nothing. Absolutely nothing. The Otsukis were also gone as well. No one was around. They didn't seem to care about anything else except for Naruto. But he was gone. No, no, she said, tears in her eyes. He's always come back no matter what. He will this time as well. The others that stood there, their heart broke as they watched the scene. Because it did not seem like Naruto would be coming back this time. He was gone. Time skip. The day that was supposed to be the happiest day of her life ended with a tragedy that shattered her heart. It was 5 years ago. Yes, 5 years ago, where she lost the only man that she would ever love. As she was seated on the roof, gazing up towards the heavens. They had a funeral. However, she refused to buy into their delusion. Because he wasn't dead. He wasn't. He was still alive. She didn't know where he was or when he would come back, but she knew in her heart that he was still alive. It was Naruto. He always came back. During that time that she spent with him, it was the most happiest moments in her life. A time that she would never forget. Some say that true love is not real, that love at first sight is not real. However, thinking back to what she felt when she first met him, she believed in it. And she believed that there was only one person for another on this planet. And when you found that special person, you would stick with them because there was no one else for you. She didn't know where he was, but she knew he was out there. And he would come back. A sound alerted her, making her way inside the home, as she was greeted by a small boy. Blonde hair, like his father. Eyes like his mother. This was Minato. Yes, Minato Uzumaki. It was sometime after, believing that it was just the pain of losing him, that it was driving her sick. However, that was not the case. The week before their marriage arrived, they spent a lot of time together. And some of those times they were not going in with any protection. The heat of the lust got to them. She didn't know. She didn't know until she found out. It was hard. Yes, it was hard. However, everyone came to her aid. He protected the village. He saved thousands of lives on that day. All of his friends, everyone, they came to her aid to make sure that she was alright. Both her and Tsunade had bonded a lot as well. She too also suffered the grief of losing him, just after losing Jiraiya as well. It was hard for a lot of them. A lot has happened though in 5 years. While many believe that he was gone, she still believed that he was out there. She named him this after his own father. After hearing how happy he was to finally meet the man, she did this for him. And she loved Minato. Her son was everything to her right now. And she will treasure every single moment that she had with him, hoping that one day he will get to meet his father. Many believe that she was simply stuck in the past, that she was being delusional. Some believing that she need to hear the truth, because she need to see and look towards the future. However, that was something she would never give up on. The hope of knowing that he was out there. Their land was visited by strangers that take one of their most precious away. And just like that, they were gone, never to be seen ever again. However, there were many other things that took place since the 5-year gap. Sakura and Sasuke got together, and they had a wonderful little girl. Her name was Sadara. She was just 1 year old right now, as they had recently had that baby girl. Yes, it took a while for their, feelings to kick off fully. A lot were going through the loss of Naruto after all. Many more changes took place. Even Karu started to go out with Choji. Yes, that was rather surprising there. Konoha and Kumo was tighter than ever. Despite the marriage never happening, her pregnancy solidified everything. She lived within Konoha grounds because she knew this is the first place that Naruto would be once he come back. And this was her home now. However, Minato had solidified everything, as the villages were closer than ever. And after what Naruto did in Kiri, helping the Mizukage. It had been 2 years back when Kiri had joined forces with the Alliance as well. The only one that was not partaking in this was the Hidden Stone. But they were not receiving any problems from him. So everything was good there. Unknowingly, he brought peace. Something that many others tried to do, but they failed. But he did it. He brought peace. She smiled as she brought Minato back to bed. As the boy had snuck out to get a cookie, she brought him back to bed. "Come on, Mom," he said, "tell me a story," as he lied down. She sat down beside him with a smile. "Alright," she said, "but just one." Meanwhile, that was going on. The Dardrakian was a race of people. Well, not by standard claims. The Dardrakians were few in the universe. However, they were so immensely durable that they were feared across galaxies. Powerful race of beings that were so durable, and yet, at the moment, one of them was begging to be spared, having never received or felt such pain before. However, all it received was a cold stare before it was dropped. The person that did so made its way towards the corpse of one of his new friends. The person had been killed by the Dardrakian. It was not time to mourn. They were in the midst of a war. He held his hand out as a bright light enveloped the strange, red humanoid being on the ground, absorbed him into his palm. This was none other than Naruto Uzumaki. The 5 years seemed to have been rough on him. He was so different. His blonde hair seemed much dull. His eyes still had this great determination though, a spirit that would never break. However, from his left side of his nose going down to his chin was a scar that he could not heal. Yes, for the past 5 years, Naruto has been doing a lot. First of all, he wasn't killed. The Atsukis had taken him. They tried to absorb the Nine Tails out of him, but Naruto broke free. And they fought on a deserted planet. They were strong. Much more so when they combined together, but their greatest mistake was not trying to destroy him. They were trying to subdue him. In doing so, they did not use any power that would eradicate him in one blow. And Naruto adapted. His ability had never been hit with something like this before. A power that was beyond anything on his planet. So he kept on adapting and adapting and adapting and adapting. And soon he became stronger than them. He slaughtered them. The problem was he could not get back home. He ventured off said planet. He almost died, but his body adapted to the no oxygen. And he was able to breathe within the vast emptiness. Using wind manipulation, he carried himself. Throughout his journey, Naruto learned a lot. He met people. Things that were not exactly human. As there wasn't any here at all. That is how he got this mark. A sword that was bathed in something known as a holy flame slashed him across his face. He slaughtered the one that wielded it though. However, he got access to this holy flame, but the wound did not heal. But now, after 5 long years, Naruto had transcended the normal physical strength of anything that he ever had. He was fighting along with a group, the rebellion forces, that was waging war against the enemy. A group of corrupted individuals. Their goal was to subjugate all of the known planets. Naruto had accidentally got sucked into a wormhole that breached him further away from anywhere close to the Elemental Nation. In fact, he left that region. He was in a part of space that he had no idea where it was. Every single being that he came across had absolutely no idea what the Elemental Nation was. The moment he went through that reach, that twisted wormhole in space, was the moment that his connection was severed. He could not summon anything. This planet, since he landed on it, after the Akatsuki's brought him here, after he defeated them, he tried to summon but there was some disturbance. Perhaps he was just too far away from home, he could not summon anything across this space. And when he went through that treacherous wormhole, his name completely vanished off the scroll. Not marked out, it vanished. Many had still had hope that he was still alive. The Toads tried to summon him but they failed back home. But his name was still there when it vanished though. Many gave up hope, believing that he was gone. Yes, and that was it. But not Yugito. She kept on believing that he was out there somewhere, and she was right. Naruto has met a lot of people, helped a lot of people, but his main goal, his main thing was to get back home. Stuck within a rebellion that was going to save many different hopeless people that did not have the strength to fight back. However, Naruto was simply too powerful. He's gotten to that point, and his side was definitely going to come out on top. Bloodshed, destruction, and chaos later, Naruto was seated by himself when a beautiful, unusual woman arrived. Her skin was pale, extremely so. Her eye sockets were, well, they were reflective, so that you could see your own face. But she had a rather unique face that was gorgeous. Long flowing white hair. She stepped towards him. She's known him for 2 years now. Strangely enough, she was sent to kill him when they first met. But Naruto bested her. And he did not end her life because he wanted to know who put a hit on his head. Yes, given his tremendous power, being thrown into this weird outside of his home, Naruto had found himself being a bully to most. And that was the enemy, so they put a hit out to end his life. But they failed. She respected his strength and power. And Naruto saved her from those that came to claim her life for failing to take him out. She had tried to seduce him, but she failed. As Naruto still had people back home that he loved, Yugito was always on his mind. However, after all these years, since they met, her being pulled into this as well, as she was the one that came to him for his aid. She had friends. Friends that were like family that were caught up in this rebellion. And with Naruto on their side, they could not lose. And she was right. However, she could see the depression on his face. But she had some good news. What? What did you say? Said Naruto. I said, we might have a way to get you back home. Time skip. Naruto was standing in front of a strange man. He had no eyes, just a mouth. Yet he kept on saying that he could see. As Naruto was explaining to him, he was locked away by the Dothraki people. The Dothraki were just, well, muscles. But they were being led by a very powerful group. They were using many things to incite them. But that wasn't important right now. This man was very powerful. They had saved him during the attack. However, one of his main things was to see the depths of someone's heart. He was able to locate through them everything else. When he said something that Alucia, The woman that had told Naruto that she had a way to send him back home caught on to. And she was right. Behind Naruto stood many people, many grateful and many friends that Naruto had made. All shapes, all sizes, all different colors. It had been 5 years. The man held his hand out towards Naruto's chest. With that, Naruto said his goodbyes to these wonderful people. He was so excited. He couldn't believe it after all these years. The next moment, Naruto felt like he was being ripped apart, as he found himself transitioning through many different levels of... He didn't know what they were. All he knew was pain. Until... boom! Naruto crashed hard on the ground. As he looked up to see that he wasn't on the ground but on a bridge, Naruto started to laugh when he started to see the sign and the name. His name. Naruto threw his head back and laughed as he cried. This was the third time that he ever cried. The first was when he killed Pain. Second, when he met his parents, and now he was at the land of Wave, releasing a shout so loud that it startled people. Pure happiness. Time skip. The scouters were shocked. Yes, they were. Something that moved so fast that they weren't even able to detect. As they were terrified, sent word back to the village immediately. Blazing through the trees at speeds that none of them could follow. He was so happy as he moved, racing as fast as he possibly could. Naruto burst past the gate. Izumo and Katetsu were shocked by the force as the hut was almost ripped to pieces. Their card game, well, disturbed. Everything was blown away. Coming to a stop in the heart of the village, Naruto bent his knees and took to the heavens. And no, he did not jump, he flew. Blazing through the sky. He could sense her from where he was. From the moment he arrived, he could sense everyone. As Naruto flew straight towards a home. Her new home. Landing at the door. Naruto took a deep breath, as there was another inside. Someone younger. Naruto had adapted so much that he can do things now that might seem impossible, but they were indeed real. The one thing he could never do was find his home, as that was not something that he was capable of doing, because he was never in the region of anything in the elemental nation. However, the man that they called the Seer, rather ironic name given that he had no eyes, was able to cross literal dimensions, cross space and realities, with his strange abilities that were connected to the very universe. His race of people were few, as there was at least 10 of them left. They were hunted in the past for sport and used by many forces to overcome the others. On the inside of the home, Yugito had felt something off. Her son seemed to caught on rather quickly as well. "What's wrong, Mom?" he said, as he felt the unusual feeling. They made their way towards the door. Yugito told him to stay behind her. This feeling. Wait. As she opened the door, she almost collapsed. Her throat felt dry, yet tears came to her eyes. Naruto? I told you I would come back, said Naruto. He told her that when they fought after that mission, he told her that it didn't matter what happened. What the Raikage said, he would come back. And he was right. She jumped into his arms as envoys descended upon the scene, Tsunade arriving as well. Her eyes widened though, as the ninjas landed down. As in fact it wasn't an enemy. It was Naruto. They were shocked. Sasuke, arriving on the scene, his Sharingan already activated. But to see that, it was his friend that everyone believed was dead. But here he was in the flesh. Yugito wrapped Naruto in her arms so tight that she didn't want to let him go. However, the both of them are quite aware. As Naruto saw, "This is Minato," she said. "I never got the chance to tell you, because I never knew myself, but it's our son," she said to him. Naruto could feel it. From simply looking at the boy, he could feel it. "Minato, this is your dad." Minato was a bit shy, as he tried to hide himself away. As Naruto knelt down, the boy ran into his arms and hugged his father. The amazing things that his mother has said about him. And she never once said that he was dead, never. She never brought him to Naruto's grave. She simply said that he was away, and she was right to say that. Many think that it was a delusional thing to do, but she was right because he was alive. As Naruto held his boy in his arms, a lot has happened to Naruto in the 5 years. He's seen families, how people been together. He think about his own family. He thought about his wife to never be. But now he was here with his family. As Naruto walked with his son in his arms, Tsunade and the others moving over towards him, it seems like they owe Yugito a big apology. However, none of that matters anymore. He was home. As Naruto was, truly, finally, happy with everything. As he wrapped his arm around his beautiful family. It did not take too long for them to get things back on track, and a beautiful ceremony had taken place. This time though, there was no problem, and their son was there to witness it. As Naruto spent the remaining time bonding with his family, and after a short amount of time they were expecting another. Yes, Minato was going to be a big brother. Naruto told the stories of his travels. It shocked many, as they couldn't believe it. He was happy for Sasuke and Sakura. Kakashi was glad that he back and he was with his family. As everyone was able to hear stories that were beyond this world, making them realize just how small most things are in comparison, given the amount of things that Naruto had seen. Sasuke, being Sasuke, tried to challenge Naruto, but, well, let's just say he wasn't on Naruto's level. But as Naruto stood on top of the tower, Naruto didn't have any desire to become Hokage. That wasn't his thing. However, Sasuke did. To be the first Uchiha Hokage, it was something he desired. Perhaps it was over the 5 years, or perhaps it was a way to say to himself that he had the power to protect the ones that he loved, now being a father. Yes. And it was a goal that Tsunade had passed down to him because she saw how much he has grown. As Naruto stood there, holding his little girl in his arms, looking over the village, turning to see his beautiful wife and his son arriving. Things were wonderful. But guys, we end episode right here. If you want to see next person, do like, subscribe. I'm just kidding, guys. This is the end. I just want to say that it's been an amazing ride, and I just want to thank each and every one of you for all the support and every single thing, guys. As you already know, new What If soon, so stick around and enjoy. But I'm out for now. Peace, guys.